seems legit.
Hello my legitimates and welcome back to my channel. Today I am making the Making Waves bag by Elaine Honey. It's a very cute little crossbody. I made it as a taco. So this side is the meat taco with the tomato. So the back one has a magnetic snap and then a slip pocket of lettuce on the inside. And then the front is just all meat because everyone loves a lot of meat in their taco, I think. Then we've got a zipper pocket that goes all the way to the bottom with another little zipper pocket on the inside of that. And then the other half of this, if we open it this way, is a slip pocket. So you've got lots of pocket options if you're one of those people that likes to have different things in each pocket. But it's a pretty quick make. I missed a thread there. I also have these really cute little leather tags. So all in all, this was really fun to make. We've got a gate ring, so it doesn't use a lot of hardware. You've got 2 magnets, 2 zippers, 1 gate ring, and 1 adjuster strap. So if you're looking for something fun and not necessarily low budget, but that doesn't cost a crap ton of money with the hardware, this is probably for you. So if you'd like to see how it's made, please stay tuned. Let's get started. So I've got all my hardware in my little Lord of the Rings bowl. And I'm actually going to put that in here. So I've cut everything out. I am using the cotton canvas, which is amazing. And because it's thicker, I haven't had to interface a lot of the pieces. So as I go, I'll tell you which ones I have not interfaced. I haven't interfaced this. This is a double fold. So it's 4 inches that I folded in half and in half again. And I've also tucked in the raw edges as well so that we don't have any of that poking out. So I'm going to start with this one because I like to start with straps, get it kind of over and done with. So we're going to stitch, back stitch, needle down, and I'm just going to stitch 1/8 of an inch along this open edge first. We're going to do all sides, but I always like to start with the open edge. For those that want to know, I'm using a needle size 18, which is the largest that this machine can handle. And I have my bonded nylon M40 thread. So I'm just going along this edge. I actually really like cotton canvas. It's not something I purchase often, but this is awesome. I usually don't purchase it because the ones at Spotlight, the cotton canvas, it's a really wide weave and I find that it frays and comes undone too easy, which is why I don't usually buy it. But for bags, this is working out really well. So I'm still just doing 1/8 of an inch and back stitch at the end, and then trim your tails as always. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to thread this on. Actually, no, I'm going to do that last. I changed my mind. Right. Now, because this has a gate ring, so we actually stitch one end into the bag and the other end's going to go through it says an O-ring, but I'm using a gate ring because that's what I have on my website. So gate rings are O-rings, but they kind of open like a gate so that you can like clip stuff in there. So I'll be using that. So what I want to do is with the gate ring, this has just been folded in half once. So I'm going to slide this on and stitch this onto here. Now I've probably made this too long, but you can do it however you want really. So I'm just going to I'm putting both sides together so the opening is on the inside, and I'm going to stitch 1/8 of an inch up, go across and then down the other side, so that this holds the gate ring in place. And then there's one less thing I have to do. Because I'm very clearly starting with all the small bits, because that's what I like to do. I like to eliminate pieces. Right. So that is now going in the tub with all the other stuff. And I am now going to take... So I've done the taco part on the outer pockets, because I thought that would be a smart thing to do. And then the inner stuff is it's all still cotton canvas, but I haven't interfaced this because it is thick enough and the weave's tight enough that I didn't want to make the bag too heavy. So this was my solution to that. We've got a lot of different pockets. I've done them in all different colors just because I could. back exterior inner slip pocket. So we need this one. So what I'm going to do is first put these ones right sides together and stitch along the top. And you can actually use whatever seam allowance you want here. The bigger the seam allowance, the shorter your pocket will be. So you pick, dealer's choice and all that. And then we're going to back stitch, obviously, because I always back stitch. And then I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to finger press it down. And then I'm going to pinch it and bring it over. And I'm going to top stitch along that edge there. So I'm top stitching with a 1/8 seam allowance. You can do a 1/4 if you're new to sewing and more comfortable with that. That's just what I like to do. Right. So that's now my slip pocket. I'm going to take, I also need to find these because I've color coordinated everything. So just bear with me. Right. So I've got one side that's going to be meat and one side that's going to be tomato. That's how I've worked this. So I'm going to take the front, well, this is the back slip pocket, and this is the front with the cool curve. And I'm going to take both of these, and I'm going to stitch them together with right sides together, line them up. And again, so I've interfaced the outer pocket with my hefty, which is a Elaine 1050F. And then because this is cotton canvas, I haven't interfaced this one because I found it wasn't stretchy and it was quite sturdy. Different brands of stuff will be different levels of stuff. It's like you can buy velvet, but there's good velvet, there's cheap velvet, there's, you know, molting velvet. So if you want to interface it, obviously you can. I'm not here to tell you what you can and can't do. But I chose not to for this. Right, so that's both of those stitched together. If you're new to sewing, feel free to use some wonder clips to join them together. Sometimes people want to do that. And because this one is a big curve, I'm going to take my zigzag scissors. These ones are Fiskars, spring-loaded zigzag scissors, so they don't hurt my fingers. And I'm just going to kind of cut into that curve a little bit. Now, I only did a 1/4 inch seam allowance because I found that easier for me. If you do more, that's fine, but you'll be cutting it off anyway. Because the zigzag allows for it to move better so that when we turn it over, we're going to get a nicer edge. But I'm going to start with the straight one. So I'm going to push that up, finger press it down, and then pinch it over and top stitch. And again, I'm doing an 1/8 of an inch top stitch. And I'm pretty sure you don't have to do the top stitching if you don't want to. I just want to. Because I think it's going to look pretty. So now we're going to do this one. Now this one's obviously going to be trickier because it's a big curve. So to combat that, you can either iron it, which if I had anywhere to set an iron up near me, I would do that. Or you can fold it over and then hold it in place with wonder clips so that the curve is going to sit correctly. And then I'm going to top stitch it. And it's going to look awesome. Right, so we just pinch it so it's right on that curved edge like that. So now I've clipped it in place. And then I'm, again, going to top stitch. I haven't changed my stitch length for this either. I know I normally do, but today I just don't feel like it. So I'm going to have a nice little stitch length. And because this colour does blend in quite well with the taco bread part, or burrito. Taco? Burrito. I don't know. Dealer's choice, I guess. Alright, so that is now my front and back slip pocket parts done. Now what we need is our main body pieces. So I have got one that is meat and one that is tomato. And so the meat one goes with the meat one. So when you look in here, it's going to be all meat all the time. We're going to line that up along the edge. So the bottom edge along here, make sure that curve's all good. And again, with the wonder clips, we are going to clip them down. And the reason we want to clip it is I just don't want it shifting, especially when I go around my corners. So we are clipping it together. It also kind of makes sure that I know what's going on a little bit. Always handy. Right. So I've done mine this way. You can also have the curve going the other way if you prefer. It just depends on how you cut it out. So then tomato with tomato. But before we put that down, we're going to take that little slip pocket of lettuce that I made. No, I want it that way. There's always a top and a bottom with your top stitching, and I just want it to look like this, which looks fabulous and slightly crooked apparently. There we go. So I'm going to baste this down. So basting is just doing it within the seam allowance and basically right on the edge to hold everything together as one piece, because it's going to be easier because I still want to split this pocket in half. So I'm just going to baste that in place like so. So now it's all one piece, and I can fold it in half and clip the center like that. And then we're going to stitch bottom to top. And that way we're creating 2 slip pockets. And we're going to back stitch twice at that stress point there, like so. So now I've got a slip pocket, and then I'm going to put the tomato on top, and look, it now looks like food. I love it. So clever. This also can have a magnetic snap here. So, where's my bowl of hardware? I do have the magnetic snaps ready. And I've also cut out the little leftovers of my stabilizer for the basters. I also cut out 1-inch squares and store all the remains, like so, because these will help interface the magnets. Now I'm just using small magnets today. You can obviously use large ones if you prefer. Dealer's choice and all that. But I'm still waiting on my large to show up, and I really wanted to use gold, so here we are. So I'm just going to put the gasket onto here so I can trace out the lines where I need to stab them. And then I can line up all 4 of them at the same time. This just saves a little bit of time later. So I can now stab through all of that, and then same with the other half. I always have my blade pointing upwards to and away from me so that I don't ever cut myself. Ever. Best decision of my life. I've also lost the cap for this, which is not the best decision of my life. But that's okay. We can't win them all. So I'm going to leave that one just as a slip pocket. And then this one we're going to turn into a magnetic pocket. So on here in the center, you can just put a little crease like this. And then I'm going to grab here and then draw on the 2 lines. Now, yes, I'm just using a normal pen because I'm confident I got it in the right spot. Then I'm going to open this out, so I'm only cutting through this layer here. And I'm going to cut both of those. Now I need my fray stopper glue, which is not in my vicinity. So I'm going to hit pause and go get my fray stopper glue. It's really, really runny. So just please be warned. I'm just going to put it... Oh, it's not as runny as I remember. Right, so we're just going to put 2 little dots of the glue. And the reason for that is it's now going to stop all the fabric fraying, which is obviously what we want. We don't want it to fray and pull the magnet out. So I'm going to stab this one through into the holes. And it doesn't matter if the glue gets on the metal, that's fine. And then we're going to put one of our little squares on here, like that. Then we're going to put a gasket. So you've got lots of layers. This will just help really reinforce this. And then you want to bend them out. Another cool option that you can use here is the rivet magnets. And you could even have it coming out on the outside to be like a metal kind of accent. So now I'm just going to line this up And then line up my magnet. Now, obviously, there is a better way to do that, but this is just how I do it. So we're going to do that. And again, we're going to take this. Where's my little mark? I swear it was just there. Okay, it's right on the edge of the lettuce. So I'm going to put this here. Draw the 2 lines. And again, I'm going to take my craft knife. This one is just from a $2 shop. And they come with replacement blades. So you can have the one thing basically forever. Alright, then just a little bit of Frey stopper glue. A little bit more on that one. Like so. I'm just kind of going to rub it in on the back as well, since I've got so much glue now. Right, and then we're going to flip it. We're going to put one of these. And then our gasket. And again, so this stabilizer isn't super necessary, but it is just giving it more stability, really. If nothing else, it's giving it more stability. So now, they should match up, and then all the edges should match up. And so now I'm going to baste all of these layers as well, and then that will be my back piece done. You don't have to... Oh, am I out of bobbin thread? Oh, I am. Oh, no, I'm not. It's just having a moment. Even better. This was not a full bobbin when I started, so I will need to stop and do another one. So I'm going to stitch and back stitch. I like back stitching, but it's not 100% necessary. And then we're just going to, again, go around this edge. So this is basting. So please just make sure it is in your seam allowance. Because you don't want to see this later. Which is why I always try and do it never more than 1/4 of an inch ever. Usually 1/8 of an inch. Then I'm going to cut off all of those tails. And that is my back pocket done. So when you open it now, you've got a magnet, and then you've got some slip pockets as well in there. So you could slip your phone in one and a muesli bar in another. Right, now I'm going to baste this one together. This one I'm not going to put a magnet. You can if you want to, obviously. You've got options. Depends on how much hardware you want to use per bag. You can get quite creative. And back stitch. So now that's a single piece as well. And so now I am going to put this here. I'm going to do it 1 inch in from the edge. I don't know what the pattern says, but that's what I'm going to do, because that way it'll be at the edge of the bag but still within the seam allowance. And then on this one, with them both facing the same way, I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to stitch this 1 inch in from here. So I'm just going to use 2 clips to hold it in place. So then when I've got the bag, see how they'll now be opposite. That'll sit up and there's lots of space. I'm going to, again, baste those down as well. I do love a good basting. And I'm also nearly out of bobbin thread, so it's good to use it now where it won't be seen. Pull that one out. Trim off those tails. So that's now done. And then we'll do this one. So the outside is a lot quicker than the inside. Okay. And so that's there. You can, if you want to, take all of this. I'm going to kind of roll it up a little bit. Like so. And then just shove it straight into here. So now it's out of the way and I won't accidentally sew it into a seam later. So that is our front and back done. Let's move on to all the lining pieces, shall we? So, there's some stuff going on, and I can show you the pattern pieces because they don't have measurements. So we've got a back inner pocket and a front inner pocket. We already did that one. And then we have all these rectangles. So we've got a front interior lining band, which goes with this one. And then we have a back interior lining band. So that goes with that one. And then this is our recessed zipper. So what we're going to do is the bigger, thicker one, which I'm using G, I'm going to make this one the magnetic pocket. And then the other side is going to be a zipper pocket. So we're going to start with the front. And there should be 2 of these and 2 of these. Now, the bands at the top, I have used a Vilene 1050F, which is my hefty, non-woven, heavy interfacing, to put at the top, because this is going to have a magnet. It's also going to take a lot of flack from the bag. So I decided that that will be easier. So I'm going to stitch this to there like so. So I'm just going to line it up, stitch and back stitch. All along the edge like so. And then I'm going to grab the second one and I'm going to chain stitch this in. So I've got one pocket that is tomato and I'm going to have one pocket that is lettuce. Now obviously you don't have to do it this way, but I wanted to get the most colour into one bag as humanly possible. Alright, I just ran out of bobbin thread. So I am going to hit pause so you don't have to watch me and do another bobbin. Alright, we have all redone. So I'm just going to go back, probably 3 stitches back from where it ran out of thread. I'm going to stitch and back stitch. That will now lock in the old set and the new set of stitches. And then go again. So now I'm also going to flip this down and top stitch here, so that it doesn't fly around and annoy me. It will also help it to sit flat, and it's always good to practice some nice top stitching. Like so, and back stitch. Trim this one, and we're going to do the same thing. And I'm also going to take off these tails where I joined it, and my bin is getting quite full. So stitch and back stitch. Okay, so now we need to install our next magnetic snap. So we're going to do what we did before. We're going to find the center, like so, open it out, and I'm going to do it, we're going to measure it properly with a ruler and stuff, because it's always nice to be accurate. I could probably eyeball it, but that's not teaching you anything. So there's the center, and I'm going to go 3/4 of an inch up from that seam there between meat and tomato. So I'm going to go 3/4 of an inch up in the center, and I'm just going to put a little dot, and that's where I'm going to install it. As you can hear, my child's playing a game. I let him have his tablet so I could record a video. He hasn't had it all day, and he gets very excited and animated and yells at it a lot. Alright, so there's my 2 lines. I'm going to do this one as well. I've got to take this off, as much as I love chain stitching. So again, we're going to find the center. And you can definitely add interfacing. If I was using a woven cotton instead of a cotton canvas, I would have interfaced all of this, just so you all know. But I would not have interfaced the waterproof canvas. So it's like, you know, 6 in one, half a dozen in the other. So I'm just going to mark the spot there. Maybe. It's harder to see on this one. 1 line, 2 lines. And then we're just going to, so again, blade face up and away from me. I'm going to start in the corner, and you just push down because the blade is on an angle. It cuts the hole for you. So we just put it in at the edge and kind of just push. It does all the work for you. So again, fray stopper glue. If this was vinyl, you wouldn't need the fray stopper glue. So another you know, thought for you there. 2 drizzles. And it really does come out pretty quick, so please never squeeze the bottle. It's like the worst thing you could do to yourself. Okay, separate these. So I'm going to push this through the holes, then put on one of my trusty little squares. Then I'm going to put a gasket. Then I'm going to bend it out. There's one. Second one. It doesn't matter which one goes on which because they're the same. Flip. One of these. And you can see I didn't cut it square on, but it also doesn't matter. It's purely there as a reinforcement. Voila. That will now do that, which is awesome. Like so. But we're not going to stitch that together. We're just going to put it aside and we're going to move on to our lettuce half. So, even though I've done tomato on the bottom of this, nobody will know, so it's fine. So this is for our zipper band. So we need some zipper tape. I haven't really thought about what colour I'm going to use yet. I figure I'll just make it up as I go along like I always do. I could do a simple black with gold teeth since I'm doing gold hardware. Or you could do, if it's a meaty colour, you could do red if you wanted. Listen to my child go. So I'm just going to measure this and then go just a little bit further. It does have the official measurement. But as always, patterns are more of a guideline to me. I change my own patterns. Give you a base idea and then just roll with it. So, we will need, I'm going to put a zipper end on this. So you do need it slightly longer. And then I'm just going to crack one end of the zip. I don't know why I call it cracking it. I just do. And then we're going to bring this down to a right angle and stitch it or tack it in place. So you want to do it close to the black edge of the tape so that you won't see these stitches later. We're just going to back and forth a couple of times, really get it to hold like so. And then we're going to do the same to the other half. And you also want to make sure that they are matching. It is pretty important for them to match or you're going to have a crooked zipper. And nobody wants a crooked zipper. So, we're going to stitch, we're going to back stitch. That's just going to hold that down. I know some people prefer to do it, I think it's called the Butler method, where you just kind of poke it, but it doesn't work for me, so we're not doing that. Alright, flip all of these over. If they are directional, hold them so that the pattern is complete, and then flip them over together. Mine don't matter, so I can do whatever I want. And we're going to take some double-sided tape, and we're just going to put a little bit on one end, right here. Like this. And I'm going to line them all up, do them all at once because it's ultimately quicker. May not feel like it, but it is. Right. Double-sided tape along the end. This is 1/2 inch or 12 mil. I do have 2 sizes, but the other side I only tend to use for card slots and zipper overlays. Right. So now that we've got this, pick one. Anyone, and we're going to line this up along my very dodgy ruler that is dying, and I'm just going to fold under so that they all become the same length. So I'm going to line it up here. I really need to get myself a new sticker ruler. This one's tragic. It's what happens from overuse. You guys probably can't see it, but I can't see any of the numbers pretty much from here to here. It's a lot. I'll have to get a more heavy-duty one. I did wonder why it was so cheap. This is why. It does not outlast me and my sewing. Alright, so this is not sticking as much as I want. If you ever have problems where your double-sided tape doesn't want to lift, just heat it up by rubbing your finger against it. The heat will help it stick. Well, the friction will help it stick technically. And then we can do that. One more. Line it up there. Fold it under to there. Right, so now these are all exactly the same length. So what we want to do is we want to grab one of our lining, which is tomato, and then lay this on top. I can separate this now because I know what's going on. And you want to have the folded edge at the non-sewn edge, or the open end, whichever way you want to look at that. And we are going to grab my scully and some clips, and we're going to line them up and clip it along that edge there. I'm going to move along like that. Then we are going to take one of our meat or top pieces and we're going to line them up. Now you want to line the fold end up, even though they should be exactly the same size. It's always better to line the fold end up in case it's a stretchy fabric or something. And that's what we have. So now I'm going to grab another one. So the folded edge is here, which means this has to come down on this side. And we're going to clip it. And I twisted it because it was easier for me. And then again, I'm going to grab this and then folded edge to folded edge, right sides together. We're going to make a zipper sandwich. Like that. So now we have these two. So I am going to, on this first one, where the folded edge is, I'm going to start on the fabric. You want to make sure that you don't stitch past the fabric or you're going to see stitches. And I'm just stitching 1/4 of an inch, which means this foot is rubbing up against my zipper teeth. And then when I get 1/4 inch from the end, I'm going to sew over like this. Then I'm going to grab the next one and we're going to start at the 1/4 inch end. Needle down, we're going to pivot and then stitch with the edge of my foot rubbing up against the zipper edge. And get to the end and back stitch. So now they don't need clips. We're going to take some scissors and we're going to chop off that excess in that corner and the excess in that corner because it's going to make it easier to turn through. You also want to get rid of the tails that are floating around. Scoop all that up, throw it in the bin, and half of that just slid off onto my floor. Whoops. Alright, so now I'm going to grab the zip and kind of pull it out. Like this. Then I'm going to fold it over so that these raw edges meet up together, and we're going to add clips again. You can also iron this if you would prefer. But for me, clips are just as fast because my iron's not currently on. So that would take a good while to heat up. And then I'd have to hit pause on the video and, you know. If the clips work, do the clips. If you're struggling because of the type of fabric you've picked and it really doesn't want to go, then you should probably get your iron out. It all depends on what types of fabric you've used and how much interfacing you put on. So we are nearly finished, by the way. Nearly finished the interior. May not look like it, but we kind of are. And you can do this side before you do the other half, and you can do linings before you do exteriors. I am actually not sure what order they did it in the pattern. It's not one of those days where I'm perfectly following a pattern, I'm afraid. Alright, so now I'm going to top stitch that whole, all 4 sides, in fact. I'm going to get to here, needle down, pivot, over the edge, and back stitch, and then I'm going to grab the other one and we can just carry on. You can do any edge first, whatever makes you happy. I just did both in opposite directions. Doesn't matter, it's all the same. And when I do this edge, even though we cut and sewed a perfect corner, it does tend to curve because of the zipper tape. So I tend to let my stitches curve because, you know, it looks cool. Ta-da! Right, trim off all your tails and everything else that's going on, like so. Then I'm going to not put a zipper on yet. We're not doing the zipper yet. We are going to grab our bottom half and our top half, and we're going to make another zipper sandwich, essentially. So we want to find the center, because we all know I'm obsessed with finding the center of things. So may as well do it to all the pieces now. I didn't put interfacing on these ones. I'm not sure why. I don't remember. I thought I was going to. I either forgot or there was a purpose behind it. I do not remember. But that's okay. So, I've now got the center. I can just fold this in half and line it up. And then that's the center. So that was nice and easy. Now, because all my innards are non-directional, it doesn't matter which piece I put on which piece. It doesn't matter which way the zipper's going to go because I have plans to in a minute. Just in a minute. Add it into the clips like so. That's one. I may as well clip the other one while I am at it. So again, I'm going to fold this in, and you want the meat side facing up, just if I didn't mention that yet. And yes, I'm referencing it to its food because it's awesome fabric. Who wouldn't want a burrito bag or a taco bag? You can look at it either way. Right, so I'm now going to stitch along here, all the way along. Stitch and back stitch, and off we go. Back stitch. Next one, we're going to chain sew that in. Love a good chain sewing. And then, here's where we have our little tricky bit. We're going to take one of these. I'm going to take the one that's got the outy part and not the inny part, which is the thicker one, which is where the magnet is. And I'm going to take one of these and sew them together along here. So I'm going to put clips because it is fighting me a little bit because of the zipper and stuff. And sometimes it's just nice to have everything clipped together so you don't have to worry about it. So I'm going to stitch these together along the top here. Stitch and back stitch. Move those over there. And back stitch. And I'm missing a piece. Where is my zipper pocket? Because I planned on doing a zipper pocket. I have obviously either left it behind or dropped it. It could go either way. But we are first going to worry about this. So I'm going to flip this over, and then I'm going to top stitch along here. Like so. And so now, if you can't visualize it, let me help you. We're going like this, and then zip that up, and so our insides are now in half. So I'm going to put a zipper pocket right here, because that's where I'll do the final seam. But that's looking very cute, is it not? So you've got, I know it doesn't look like it, but you'll have a slip pocket of tomato and then a zipper pocket of lettuce, and then I'll have another zipper pocket in the zipper pocket. But I need to hit pause because it is not in my tub, which means I've put it somewhere. Who knows where. Give me a minute. Found it. 'Twas on the floor. So this is going to be a burrito pocket. Just, you know, so we can throw a little bit more burrito in here. Whatever. So, I have done a Tory pocket. It does come with an actual pocket, but we're going to do a Tory pocket because we all know how much I love the Tory pocket. And it fits, like, really, really well. So, I'm just going to line it up here. You can also, if you want to line it up perfectly in the center, find the center of the half that has the Tory pocket drawn on it. And then the half here. And clip. Like that. And then you can just line them up like so. So I don't want this too far high because then it'll get lost under there. So I've got it about an inch. Oh, look at that. Exactly an inch up from the bottom because I can eyeball an inch really well apparently. So we're going to stitch into the first corner and then back stitch to lock all the stitches in. And then we're going to stitch along the line. This is one of those few times where I encourage you to actually watch your needle. Normally you should never watch your needle because you'll go crooked, but since we're following a drawn line on the needle, it's the best way to do it. We're going to stitch along. When we get to the end, we're going to back stitch like we always do. Trim off the tails and this little jump stitch over here. We don't want him there. He will distort our stuff later. So again, trim off any tails you can see and that jump stitch. Beautiful. Now I'm going to take some scissors, fold it over, and snip in the center. He seems to be very excited. I don't know if you can hear my child yelling. He's yelling through a closed door in 2 separate rooms. He just defeated Robotnik. He's playing Sonic the Hedgehog. Alright, so I'm just triangling out these corners. Like so. I'm actually going to need to iron this. So I'm going to go iron this and push it in. I know there's a lot of stops, but it's just how it has to be. So I'm going to iron that so it sits nice and flat. So you just pull the pocket through and then iron it down, but so that it doesn't look like that. Sorry, let me iron that. I'll be right back. It's all ironed nice and flat now. And I've ironed the pocket so it's open. We are going to need a 8-inch zipper for my pocket. The pocket that it comes with is slightly different size. These are also not the zipper pulls I was looking for. I grabbed the wrong ones. Which is fine. Grab some chunkies. The other ones are metal. Don't know what happened there. Went into the wrong tub apparently. So I'm just going to put this on. And I want to have it close to the end I've just put it onto. You don't want to drag it all the way across. Because it's easy to sew on this way. So I'm going to place the zipper underneath, and I always like my zips closing to the left, which funnily enough is going to match this one, which is nice. I didn't really think about that, but it is going to match. So fluke points to me, or apparently I just subconsciously do it that way. Who knows? It could be either at this point. It could be dumb luck, or it could be that my brain actually plans that out. I don't really know. So I've stitched all the way around here. Now that I'm here, I'm going to lift up my presser foot, and I'm going to zip it all the way closed now. And so that way the zip doesn't actually get distorted while I'm trying to stitch around the zipper. This method only works if you're using nylon zip though, because you can't obviously stitch over metal teeth. But if you use metal teeth, you've got like a whole process for that anyway. So I'm going to trim off the tails because we don't want them hanging around anymore. And then I'm just going to fold this down. Now, if you pick this up and shake it, it should actually match up perfectly with the bottom edge. Sometimes it doesn't, but it should. So now I'm just going to pull the whole pocket piece out of the way and stitch just the sides of the pocket. We want to leave the bottom open because that's where I'm going to put my final seam. Oh, I didn't put a tag on. I was going to use my new glorious tags I got. I still can. It's going to be a bit late, but we're still going to do it because I want to put a tag on this bag. Alright, zipper pocket. I am going to open it though. It'll make life much easier. Right. Somewhere here, I have some glorious tags, and they work really well with the fabric. So I got these cool leather branded tags, which are super cool. And I'm going to put it on here. So I want to put it like there somewhere because it's just cute and it matches really well in with the whole taco theme. So if I want to, I could just stitch there to there, or I can unpick my basting that I did, which we're going to do that. Never be afraid to have to unpick. I do it all the time because I'm not concentrating enough, or I want to like impulsively add something or change something. So don't feel bad if you have to unpick. I personally don't unpick per se. I use my snips. I just lift it up and then I snip a few and then pull, and then snip a few and then pull. And that's what works best for me. You can obviously do it any way you like. I don't like quick unpicks. I have a bad run with them and I tend to stab holes in my projects. So I don't actually own quick unpicks anymore. When I got my stiletto, these usually come with one unpicker and one stiletto, whereas my mate wanted all the unpicks and I wanted all the stilettos. So it worked out really well. So I'm just going to unpick it just enough to be able to get the tag on. So I'm not going to go further than that. I don't have to take off the whole thing. I just have to line up where I want it. Do I want it up higher or down lower? Oh, it's hard. I kind of want to put it in the blank space. In the middle. I want to make sure it's in the middle. That's one thing I do want to do. So I'm just going to fold it and crease it. There's the middle. There's where my tag's going to go. So I'm just going to, I'll have to open it a little bit more, but not all the way. All the way is excessive. I can also probably use double-sided tape on the back of this too, so it stays where I want it to. Doesn't always work like that, but sometimes it does. Okay, so there's my middle crease. Line it up, push it down. Oh, would you look at that? Perfect. So now I can just kind of squish this up under here. I'm going to go to a longer stitch length. So I'm going to go all the way up to 4. I'm going to start in the corner and I'm going to do 1, and then I'm going to go back into the first hole and I'm going to stitch along that edge. And then we're going to pivot round. Now I know you can't really see this. Unfortunately, I can't really help that. And one more side. And then back stitch and then pull it out. So cool. Ta-da! I will put a link on who made those for me in the description if you guys want to get some. Being leather, I assume that you can change their colours with leather paint and stuff. I got them more for my wallets because I don't want to have to go and get 6 different types of finishes in the metal ones. It works out very expensive. But that one looks cute as. Right, so I fixed that. I've basted it back together. Very important to do. So now what we want to do is, don't worry about how big that is. That's all the pocket that I've shoved in there. Oh, the strap, sorry. So we are going to, you can do this a couple of ways, if I'm honest. First thing I'm going to do is line up all of this, and I'm going to baste just the bottom edge. So this is the one with the magnet. So I'm going to baste the bottom edge of this so that they are all together. since they are technically joined and it is relevant to what we're doing. So I'm just going to stitch just the bottom. You could stitch the whole way around, but I feel like that's probably going to be enough. And so then that one will go there, and that's our lining. Now there's two ways you can do this. I'm going to do it what I consider the easiest way. So I'm going to stitch this to this. So pocket outside to lining to make like a big long bit, and then I can lay it flat and stitch all the way around the edge. That's what I've decided we can do. You can also do it the other way, where you stitch the lining and the outside and then slot them in. Both options are equally as good and equally as valid. I'm not sure which one's in the pattern. This will work. The other one will work too. No wrong answers here. There's more than one way to build a bag. And a lot of people forget that. So this one's going to be a little bit more tricky, just so you know, because we've got the pocket here. So we can technically undo this to stitch it together now. But you will need to put it back together when we stitch the next bit. So I'm going to do it this way. So I'm going to stitch along here. I'm going to back stitch. We're going to go back to a joining stitch length because I'm currently still on 4 from when I did my tag. So we're going to go up and back. And then we're going to do this one. Same thing. And then, just for added stability, because if you sell bags, you never know what crazy things people are going to put in them. I'm going to come back to where the tab is for the what's it called? The strap. And I'm just going to zigzag back and forth over it several times on both halves. We're going to go forward and back and forward and back. And that's just going to really reinforce that seam. Now, I'm going to fold the seam allowance towards the lining. Ignore all the mess. We don't need to worry about that right now. And I'm going to stitch it just on the lining side, not on both sides, so that you won't see it on the outside. I mean, you can have top stitching on the outside if you prefer. You can fold it all the way over and do it that way. I'm going to just do it on the lining. Because sometimes this like trips people out and baffles them how you've done it. And I like to trip people out. It makes me happy. So over we go. Like that. So now all that's left to do is start with the big one. So I'm going to bring this up and join your magnet back together. Right. Lay it out flat like this, and we're going to take the tail of the zipper and we're just going to clip it out of the way so that we don't accidentally stitch it into the bag. That would be disastrous. And then you'd have to unpick and hope that you didn't wreck your zip. Lots of problems. So it's easy to just clip it out of the way. Then we're going to make a big sandwich. The first thing I'm going to do is come to where the exterior meets the lining. And on this one, you'll find that these are both the same. So you may even want to clip this before you start. If you're new to bag making, this is what you want. Oops. I can't do a video without dropping things. Right, so we're going to clip all of these layers, like so that they're all together. Making sure that that's all nice and organized there. So then we can take our exterior and our exterior, and I'm going to start at the bottom edge because why not? Now another thing you want to think about right now is making sure that the strap that we tucked into that pocket, which is why it's so bulky looking, is out of the way, because we don't want to stitch that into our side seam either. So now I'm going to come up here and I'm going to match side seam to side seam, essentially. Which is here to there. Line that up and clip it together. And this is now what we're doing. So we're going to go all the way around. You also notice I don't like putting zippers on until the very, very end, if I can help it. Which is why we haven't done that other one. I also plan on leaving a hole open at the bottom so that I can turn the bag through here. And then I'll seal it up through the zipper pocket, theoretically. Alright, and then we're just adding all the clips together to clip all the layers together. And then we're going to line up this side as well, like that. It is important that everything matches up. Clip, clip, continue down. Now you've got this. Now I'm going to leave this open here and just assume that I can do that. I think it's going to work out the way I want, and if not, I'll figure it out in a minute. Okay, so I'm going to start here because I want to leave this opening. I'm going to start here with a seam allowance, clip, stitch, back stitch, go slowly because there's lots of clips. Speed up on the straight bits if you want to. But again, we're keeping in mind that there's a bunch of stuff going on here. We don't want to stitch over our zips and stuff. And again, lots of bulk here, so you don't want to go too fast. Another very good reason why you don't necessarily need to always interface every single piece. This is a lot of layers because of all the slip pockets and stuff that we've put in. So it's just something to think about. And I possibly should have done a cutting video on this, so I could have explained it all as I went, but it's a bit late now, sorry. And the last corner, and then back stitch. And then you want to flip it over and make sure that you're caught everywhere. Now I got really, really close over here, so I'm just going to do that little bit again. The reason I got so close though is because that zipper is right there. So, just going to get that a little bit closer, do a second line of stitching, make sure everything behaves itself. Hand crank it if you have to. That's better. Okay. Through the bottom of the bag, you should be able to reach all the way to the other end. I'm going to trim this off, actually. It's a bit thick, and it won't make a nice curve if I leave it there. So, hack off the corners. Smooth corners 101. Hack them off, or if you've got your zigzag scissors, you can also cut that. But keep in mind, not all zigzag scissors are like big, bulky seams. So I'm just going to push that corner in like this till I can grab it and make it talk like a puppet. And I'm just gently kind of pushing it over itself to birth the bag. Now it looks like I'm putting a lot of effort in, but I'm actually just being very gentle so I don't rip anything. Because that's the last thing I want to do. Alright. Now that I've got this, it's technically out, I'm going to put my hand back into the hole and then push the bottom out. I'm actually almost punching it. I've got a fist made and I'm pushing with my fist. Because again, a lot of layers. And now that I've got it to that point, I want my turny stick. This is a flute cleaner. It hasn't been used as that for a very long time. It is now my turny stick. But if you push it down and you push those seams, it gets it nice and crisp and pushes all that excess out. And because it's got a rounded edge, I know a lot of people use chopsticks, but because it's got a thicker rounded edge, I've never been able to push it through any bag ever. And I'm putting quite a lot of weight on this. This corner is quite tricky. Because I want to turn it all the way out. There we go. Got it. Sometimes it just takes a second. See? Ha 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 ha. So now I'm going to reach into my zipper pocket, which is in the lettuce side, and I'm going to grab the bottom. All of the bottom edges, like that. And now I'm going to stitch the bottom of the bag done. Now, some of you might be asking, why didn't I just turn it through the zipper pocket? The official answer is because this was actually easier. Even though it's approximately the same size as the zipper pocket, you don't have to fight trying to go through another layer. This was just a clear inside-out move, which is why I prefer to do it this way, because sewing that little seam there was really not that difficult, and it's worth it. And so now you can push that back through, and then I want to turn those corners out, make sure they're all the way out, and then I'm going to push them in. I know that seems counterproductive, but it just makes sure that they're all the way out and crispy. So now I'm going to take this and I'm just going to tuck in that raw edge with my fingers like this and pull tight. And then if you want to, you can clip it together, or if you're like me, you can just hold it with your fingers. And I'm just going to stitch that pocket closed. So this is where you'll see your stitching. Back stitch, trim, trim, push that into there, zipper up, push, all of that into there. This is looking awesome. And then we want to put a zipper on the zipper. And I need to pick up all the hardware I dropped, because we're about to need it all. Right. So this is actually going to be recessed, and it'll be down like this. And then the other half, so the idea is this is going to go down like that. One side will be a zipper, and then there is our slip pocket in tomato. So there's our lettuce and our tomato. But first we need to actually put the zipper on. So it's easier to kind of pull it up and out to do that, because I can get both the ends nice and easy. And then I'm just going to feed one half on, and the other half on. Oops, missed. Now there's not a lot of tail, which I did do deliberately because I didn't want a lot of tail hanging through the bag. I can always cut more off, but it is easy to have at least some to get this on, because as you can see, I'm struggling with this a little bit. When I struggle too much, I will actually get my zipper jig, because sometimes I just don't feel like fighting it. But when we zip it on, you want to make sure it goes to the end evenly. Very, very important to check before you just assume it's fine. And then I'm going to grab one zipper end and one of the 2 screws that come in the packet. I decided these should only come in 2s because you only really need 1 per bag. Right. And as usual, someone has my electric screwdriver. Shocker. It's the most like Whoops, I just set that on fire. Did you guys see that? That's what happens when you're not paying attention. So I'm just going to fold it over so it's like a triangle point. And then I push the zipper all the way in. You want to kind of put it all the way to the back, as far as in as it will go. And then you need a screwdriver of some description. And we're going to take this. Now these screws for these have actually got like a really sharp point so that it can stab through all the stuff we're asking it to. So they are designed to be able to stab through all of this. Bit like a self-drilling screw, if you're into like fixing things and you know what that is. It is basically a self-drilling screw. So you want to drill it until it's smooth and you can't feel it. You want to run your finger on it and make sure that you can't feel it anywhere. Then I'm going to push all of that into the bag because that is not the raw edge. That one is. And there's actually a little gap, so I'm going to feed that through and it's actually going to go under, like so. Super cute now, right? Tuck all of that down. You just want to smooth it out with your hands because it was sitting a bit high because it wasn't smooth, but problem solved. Zip it shut. Smooth, smooth. Put the magnet on. Right, so the last thing we need is the last thing I dropped, which is our strap adjuster. Where did it drop to is the big question. This is what happens when I drop things. Always a disaster. Okay, so we are going to have it so it's right sides up, and I'm going to feed this along. And then we're going to go up and through. I'm going to do a lot. Like that, and I'm going to leave a nice big loop there, and then I'm going to come through the loop, and then I need to come back on the inside part, so we're going to go back on the inside there, and then down, and we're going to stitch that together there, because you want it to be on the inside, so then when I pull that, it's now an adjustable strap. So it's always handy to be able to have stuff out of the way where possible. So you don't want to be too close to the ring. So I'm just going to stitch a little box here to put all the layers together. So we're going to stitch, and then as always, we are going to back stitch. And then we're going to go forward. And then I'm going to angle diagonally, just a little one, because the crisscross thing that I do is much more stable than just one single line. And we want it to be stable because, again, you never know what crazy people are going to put in their handbags. You just never know. So now I've got this little X. And that is now your bag complete. So how cool did that turn out? I've still got fluff everywhere. So you've got tuck on the outside with meat at the front, tomatoes at the back. You have one magnetic pocket of tomato and one zipper pocket of lettuce. Hold that thought. With an extra zipper pocket in there for good measure. I hope that was educational. This was actually a really fun bag to make. I'm a little bit in love with how it's turned out. It looks super adorable. And I like the little curve. I love a good curve though. Curves are my jam. It's also good practice to sew some curves. Anyway, I'm going to go now, but thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you all for the next video. Bye-bye.